Hey guys, what is up, and welcome back to another video. Today we are here for another video, once again in the city, inside the zoo once again, but this time it's for a final tour of it all. Finally, I've finished building it after 2 whole months dedicated to it. It's hard to believe that's been 2 whole months. Feels like it's been a whole lot longer than that, but it must have been just because I've been working specifically just on this, and I haven't moved on to any other projects. I've just been working on this one from start all the way now to its finish. So yeah, I guess this is finished to the extent that I want it to be. There is a whole lot of additional stuff, small background details and the annex, which I'll eventually put in possibly a couple years later. But for now, just this part of the zoo is all finished. So I decided I'd do a quick tour of it before I move on to other parts of the city. So, just a quick background about this. I've been working on it for 2 months. I think just under 2 months it has to be. In my previous video, I said the tour video might come out 2 weeks after that, but it turns out there wasn't actually that much left that I had to do here. Inside the zoo, there are, I think, 29 different enclosures featuring 34 different Minecraft creatures. And so far, it is the largest single build on Goattsville by surface area. It covers the most ground on a map. You can't even see the back of it all the way down there, so it takes up a good amount of time. So this video will probably be nearing 30 minutes or something, but hopefully I can get through it rather quickly while still showing all the important things. Up here in the front we have a little driveway right here. Is a little turnaround area for a tram service, which would be available for the customers because the closest parking lot is all the way down there, and it's right next to the train station and 2 other museums, so that one's probably going to be already overflowing as it is. So the parking lot here will be all the way in the back, but there will be this little tram which will come down and take people right up to the front gate, because I wanted this front gate next to the other 2 and also at a reasonable distance in comparison to the Central Park, which will be right next to it. So I felt like, it kind of had to be here. We can just make our way through the front gate. I think the front gate turned out quite nice, pretty simple, but still, good. Make our way through here. It's where you pay for admission, something like that. And here we have the sort of central entrance area. Pretty simple as it is right now. Have a couple statues here. One is a panda, or at least, no, this is a polar bear, and that's the panda. And those are going to be 2 main sort of attractions of the zoo. They're some of the largest enclosures and probably some of the most exotic of creatures here on Minecraft. And in this sort of general entrance area, we have a little bit of a popcorn stand, and we're going to have various other details lamps and benches and trash bins scattered all around the park to add some realism. Just to make it a little bit more aesthetic. And over here we have a small little gift shop selling typical stuff that you may find in a zoo gift shop. And over here is a restaurant with a couple of tables scattered around. And making our way over to the other side, we have a small zoo administration building, because that stuff will be kind of necessary. I don't have any others here, so this one's kind of really the only one, despite it being really small. And there's even a little medical thing in here in case, one of the customers, one of the visitors or something, something happens to them. We got something on site, and there is even a little driveway back here, which connects to the gate. So this could be where an ambulance can get good access. I seem to put a lot more planning into the front of the zoo than the back of it, and you'll be able to see a general decline in terms of the, quality. In here we got these smooth organic shapes, and then later on you'll see things get a whole lot more rigid. And here we just have a small set of restrooms because these sort of things are necessary in something like a park. And then right here is the first enclosure, right in here, right across from the main entrance, and these are the standard Overworld passive creatures. We got a cow right there, we got some sheep, some pigs, and chickens, which you can see over there. Since these are sort of standard kind of passive ones, not really going to be any harm for anyone. These gates can be lowered through a control panel, which is behind that gate. So if the animals are feeling a little bit social or friendly, when the gate lowers, they can come on here and interact with some of the patrons. And then these gates will close too, and they I have another control for that back there. But they'll mostly just be staying back here. I'm pretty sure this is actually the largest one, but that's because it has 4 different animals inside of it. And look, I got an egg. Putting that back in there. So yeah, that's nothing too special, but I feel like it's a nice sort of interesting little thing to have right off here in the start. And then coming over here to this side, we have the horses. And we also have signs right here next to all the enclosures showing the name of the chick, the name of the animal, maybe not the official name, but you know, just a variation of that, and then its Latin name, which some of them I tried, like with some of the proper animals, like the sheeps and the chickens and stuff. I tried getting rather accurate Latin names at the bottom, but with some of the other ones that don't translate that well, they probably don't make any sense, so don't trust those names too much. And I don't think I have to capitalize the second one at least, so yeah, don't expect those things to be too perfect. It's mostly just there for aesthetics. But here are the horses and its other variants. We got no horses there. We got some horses up there. There's one on the bridge. We got a couple donkeys, some mules. There's one mule right here. And then, of course, we got the exotic section of Minecraft with the skeleton horse, which you can see one right there. And of course the horses are getting all glitched inside of each other. I don't understand why that keeps happening. That's probably been the biggest frustration of this, trying to prevent that as much as possible. And then of course we have the undead horse, which I believe we saw him all the way back there, buried in the trees somewhere. I think you can just barely see a couple of his pixels out behind that tree right there. But yeah, I'm pretty sure he's found back there. And then over here we have the rabbits. And for some reason they seem very fascinated with this back corner because they don't seem to move very much from it. But yeah, there's still rabbits. They got little holes which go around the different enclosures, but they don't use it that much, which is a bit unfortunate, but you know, they're doing fine there. And then making our way over here, we have the creepers, the famed, you know, icon of Minecraft. It's kind of difficult to see them from, you know, all the foliage in the way, so there are these little underground access areas, so you can come right down here, and they're right here. You can walk up right face to face with with these guys. So yeah, having this little underground thing right here felt was a good addition to have. And then making our way around the other side, we get a bit more of an more open view of you know, the less dense part of it, and you can see a couple of them, not too many. They do seem to be more interested in the forested section, but you can see a couple of them out here. And then here is the first building that we have, the cave, which features cave-themed animals as well as other sorts of things that can't necessarily survive out in the sunlight. So over here we have the bat. We just got a couple of them, mostly just chilling back there on the back. Can't really get them to fly around too much, so yeah, they'll just be chilling back there. And then over here we got some zombies. It does seem like a little bit of a strange, very small enclosure especially for so many of them, but you know, I just felt like it'd be an alright idea to include a couple of them. They have their own little fake cave back here. Makes it a little bit difficult to see them, but they're there. And then over here we got some cave spiders. And the thing about the cave spiders was they kept climbing up against the walls and then jumping off, and they just kept dying from that, and even the lava too, so I had to block off a bunch of stuff with some barrier blocks so that, you know, they wouldn't, you know, be dying every couple times I came back here. So yeah, I'm just chilling there. And then over here we got the silverfish, and this enclosure would have been a whole lot more interesting too, but you know, because I had a little end portal or something right there, or at least a little fake end portal with some lava beneath it, but I put in like 10 of them, came back, there was only 2 left, so I assumed it had to be the lava because I checked all the bricks right here, none of them are buried in. So yeah, these guys just sort of chilling here in their simulated stronghold. And then over here we have the skeletons, another sort of just standard typical cave themed enclosure right here. these ones, I think this is the largest enclosure we have here inside the cave. And I did want to include the Vex and the Phantom in here, but the Vexes aren't necessarily restricted by these walls. And the Phantoms were just far too difficult to manage, so unfortunately I wasn't able to include those. That would be a really interesting addition to have, though. Anyway, with that, that concludes the cave, and leads us back into the typical plains forest area. And then up here we got the Ravagers, and they keep getting glitched for some weird reason. They don't get glitched in like any of the blocks, they'll just sort of redirect course after the set number of ticks or something, but for some reason they'll get stuck like that forever. Now, I'm not too sure why, so every now and again I have to just move them away from each other so that they can, you know, get back on course. But yeah, these are the Ravagers, and they have a little shrunken down pillager outpost. I don't have any pillagers or villagers or anything too human-like in the zoo, because that doesn't make too much sense. So the only closest thing we have there are the zombies inside the cave, but I feel like those were different enough. So yeah, it's the Ravagers right there, and the Creepers just from another angle right up here. I can get more of a closer view of them. And then up here we have the Slimes, sort of their little swamp enclosure right here, hopping around. They kept jumping off the trees and you know, breaking off into these smaller ones. So we just have a couple of big ones left, and then for some reason I don't see that many of the smaller ones hopping around. Do they? I think they might, like, you know, come together to like form bigger ones again, but I haven't checked the name tags to see if that actually happens. And then, so yeah, that's it for the Slimes, and here's the rabbits once again. It looks like, no, they haven't moved at all. Mostly just, it's gonna remain in that corner for the remainder of their existence. And then, coming back up here, as we reach the back parts of the museum, we have the cats, the village cat and forest cat. And this is just simple, small little enclosure, one of the smallest that we have, but I like the way it looks. I think it's put in like a really nice position, and it's, you know, it's nice and simple, and one of the necessary sorts of things you have to have here. And yeah, that's the cats right there. And then coming up here, we have sort of the food court area, where all the restaurants and stuff are. So we got a couple of seats right here, a little food truck, another popcorn stand, and back here is a little, you know, area where some of the golf carts are stored, which are used by the staff. Yeah, we've got to have some spaces available for that. And then going over here towards this side, we got another couple of restrooms right there. And then here we just have a couple more restaurants and some more tables and chairs. Another typical restaurant up there, and here is actually one that you can enter, and it's actually more of a coffee shop actually. So yeah, I felt like this was a good addition to have right there. And that's pretty much it for the food area. Making our way down here towards this way, we have the final sort of plains forest overworld kind of creature right here, the iron golem. And I actually almost forgot about these guys because they don't have a spawn egg, so these guys were sort of a late addition. But yeah, we just have a couple of them right here, you know, chilling in, you know, rather small enclosure. I would have made something bigger, but I just didn't have the space for it. So yeah, they just got this right here. And then down this way we have another small little lookout of the slimes right here. Not as accurate because you got that tree in the way, but you know, still some minor overlook of that. But anyway, now we're going to move on to the next sort of theme in the zoo, which is the jungle. And the jungle is the largest of the, you know, themes aside from the, you know, the standard one that we were just in. And in here we just have a small little, I guess, you know, nature informational area. Got a couple bamboo plants going right here and a sign labeling them. And then in here we got some coral growing right there. But when the bees are, you know, possibly one day brought into the game, this is probably where their enclosure would go. I'd just get rid of all this and put the bees in right here. I feel like that'd be a good place to keep them. And then over here we have the ocelots. The ocelots have probably one of the nicest enclosures here. One of my favorites. We got this little river running right here along the front, so it keeps them all, you know, in proper range of vision. And they have our little simulated jungle temple right there. And also some paths which run up the trees, but I don't think the cats are smart enough to actually climb up there, which is good because then they can like jump onto that tree and then out of their enclosure. So it's kind of good that they're not running all the way up there, but you know, it'll still be something nice. And if they would do that, I would give her some of the other stuff. Shouldn't be too difficult, but I'll just leave that as it is now. And then making our way down here, we have a jungle-themed gift shop, very similar to the one that we had at the front of the zoo, but this time it's jungle-themed. We just got some, you know, leaves decorating the top, and you know, now they're selling a bit more vegetation than a typical ornamental stuff. And then coming over here, we have the bird house, and this is a little jungle enclosure, all simulated within, enclosed within this building. And we have some paths which run through this little river bed right here. And the birds are kind of just sort of scattered around. They don't fly around as much as I wish that they would. They're mostly just stationary from, you know, where they respawned in. So let's see if we can find any. I'm pretty sure there's one. You can see one down there off in the corner. And I'm pretty sure there's one or a couple. Oh yeah, there's one right up there. You can just barely see him right there. Blends in with the glass behind him. And there's a couple more down there. They mostly seem to be interested over here. And so here's one just sitting right here on this little perch here next to this waterfall. Love the way this waterfall turned out. Oh no, he got stuck in the cobweb. Oh no, that's unfortunate. But yeah, if we take out a music disc from this chest right here, put that in, he'll start dancing. Isn't that cute? Yep, so that's that for the bird enclosure. Very interesting. I'm pretty sure this one, I think by area, is technically the largest, but you know, because it's a building, I guess I don't necessarily consider it the largest. But yeah, we got another set of restrooms right there. And here we have the pandas, one of the, you know, icons of the zoo. Giant panda right there. And they just seem to be moving around rather slowly, eating away at some of the bamboo we have right here. Typical just sort of jungle bamboo forest hybrid of an environment with a little river running through right there to a little bit of a lake at the bottom there. So yeah, that's the pandas. They don't really do much more aside from just stand around, but still, they're pandas. So I guess that makes them at least somewhat interesting. And the times when they're not going to be outside, probably because they're you know, very profitable here. Even when they go inside, the visitors can still come in here, and they have the little window in here to view into their little indoor quarters right here. So pandas are always going to be on work. So yep, and that's that for the pandas. And then around here towards the back, we have this wooden fence right here blocking off the path, which will eventually lead to the second part of the zoo, Part 2, which will feature creatures from the ends as well as an aquarium, which should be pretty interesting, but would take just way too much time. And I've already built all of this, so I don't really feel like necessarily moving on to another big zoo project. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the jungle. If we make our way back down here, we can continue on to the desert, which will be our next section, which is actually the smallest one, I think. It only has 2 creatures inside of it, but still, I think it's distinguished enough of an environment to feature. So if we make our way back over here and over this little bridge next to the Ravagers, we can make our way over to the desert, which is right here around this corner. And here we have the first one, which are the husks. Rather recent one added, desert husk. These guys just sort of have their typical standard desert wasteland sort of environment. Nothing too special about this, but you know, really just more of an environmental piece for, you know, the atmosphere of the desert section. And then a bit more of a more interesting one, we have the common spider right here, where they have half of their enclosure in a cave style, and then the other half is outside in a desert. So yeah, and I also had to get rid of the cactus and replace them with some limestone clay because they kept getting damaged by them. They kept trying to climb the cacti. So yeah, and we of course we had to use a lot of barrier blocks so they wouldn't get over. So yeah, that's that for the spiders. And then we also have a small section of the llamas showing right here, but these are more part of the the mountains, which is on the other side of this. But we do have just a small little inclusion of it right here. You can see one just making its way around right there. And yeah, that's it for the desert. Just really small by area and in terms of the number of animals within it, but still an important part. There's the birdhouse with the little depiction of the bird right there. Thought that was pretty cute. And then over here, we can make our way over to the mountains once again. We've got a couple more llamas. They seem to be a whole lot more interested in this side than the other side, probably because it's a whole lot more navigable, if that's even a word. Yeah, because the other one is a whole lot more steeper of a cliff. But yeah, coming over here, we have the mountains, which currently only has 2 at the moment, but will probably sometime soon have 3. So yeah, we got the llamas, as seen before. And I find weird contradiction with the mountains part of it is it's not even the highest parts of the zoo in terms of elevation, but also has no changes in elevation either. It's just one single flat path leading all the way down here. And then over here we have the foxes, which have not yet been added yet, but will possibly be. They're on PC, but not in any of the other editions, but hopefully, if they come soon, they will have a spot right here, which they can just be instantly put into. So we got that all reserved for them. And over here, we have the mushroom, probably one of the strangest creatures here in Minecraft, the cow mushroom hybrid. Seems a little bit weird for them to be over here in the mountains, but it's probably the closest sort of environment that they would fit into. So yeah, that's that for the mushrooms. And then making our way down here, we have this beauty of a building. This is the Nether, which features mobs from the Nether. Probably one of the nicest parts of the zoo. I love the way that this building turned out. It just looks absolutely amazing. Love the way the bricks totally give off that Nether vibe. And once we make our way in, as you can see, it's already immersed us into the environment with a little Nether portal right there. And then making our way around here, we have this open air area for the zombie pigments, as well as the wither skeletons. And these guys are just in their sort of standard, typical Nether environment that you would typically come across. And then over here we have the blazes in the Nether fortress style environment. Mostly just hopping around. They don't seem to fly around like they normally would in their natural environment, which is a bit strange, but just something we have to deal with. So they're just sort of flying around, just simply like that. And then over here we have the magma cube, and I don't actually think this sort of environment exists in the Nether, but I just love the way that it turned out. These sort of lava lakes right here with the soul sand and magma blocks right there. I think it turned out really nice, and despite this being really small and simple, it's actually like probably one of my favorites. So yeah, with that, did that one just catch on fire? No, that's just one of the netherrack blocks. Okay. So yeah, with that is it for the Nether. And if we make our way out, we have one more area to show, which is right up here, the most recently finished area, which is the Tundra. And the Tundra includes 3 different animals right here. If we make our way through here, these are the snow golems, the typical snowmen. And yeah, they're just walking around their little refrigerator right here. Probably makes sense to keep them all indoors, because with leaving them outside in the middle of the summer, they would probably melt out really quickly. But since this is Minecraft, there's not that many restrictions, so they do have an outdoor section. But the roof, there's a roof extension. There's a little roof built for them because the snow golems can't survive when raining. When it's raining on the world. So if I ever set the world to rain, which I sometimes do, for because it makes a nice look for the world, they will be able to be out here and not die from it. Yes, we just have this roof right here, which covers all the area here, so they don't have to worry about anything happening to them right there. And then over here on the other side, we have the wolves. And these wolves have a rather narrow enclosure in their shape, but I still think it turned out good enough. yeah, it's long enough to compensate for the rather short width of it. We got a couple of them sitting right there, just to add some variance in terms of how they're moving around. And that one's still sitting on the rock. I'm surprised it hasn't gotten knocked off yet. Very strange. So yeah, I feel like this turned out quite nice. And then over here we of course have the polar bears, the final enclosure that we'll look at right now. You know, the iconic polar bears. So yeah, these guys got their typical sort of tundra, taiga style environment right here. And it seems like they've all gotten, you know, stuck in that back corner right there. So I don't think we can actually see any others aside from just those couple back there. But there are some inside this little building right here, similar to the pandas. So we can go inside and look at them from there. Make our way up here, inside here. Polar bear. And we got a couple in here sort of enjoying the rather cool temperature, but it's probably a whole lot better than the outside, regardless of wherever Goattville may take place. Doesn't seem like any are on this side, but yeah, that's it for the polar bears, and that's also it for all the enclosures that we have right now. We're probably going to add in some more later over on the other side of the road, which is right over that wall right there, but that probably won't come for a while, so figured I might as well just do a final tour of it all now. And yeah, that'll be it for the entirety of the zoo. I guess I can show you around some of the, exterior parts of it, because we do have, like a full sort of fence around the outside and some background little driveways for some maintenance and stuff to be done, which I feel like were some small details which probably won't be noticed too much, especially when you're inside. But from the outside, there's, sort of vital inclusions to have here, just to make the build a whole lot more realistic. But yeah, parking lot still hasn't been added yet, but the parking lot as it is going to be so isolated from the entirety of the remainder of the city that I suppose, it doesn't necessarily matter if I add it in anytime soon. But yeah, that's it for the zoo. Finally, for 2 whole months, I'll be able to work on something else beyond this. It feels like forever since I built the skyscrapers, so that'll be fun to finally get started with something like that. But yeah, that'll be it for this episode. I want to thank you all very much for watching, and I will see you all later. Bye!